Starting off on a new sign here. This sign is going to be a test piece for a larger art table I want to do for my daughter's playroom. So my wife hand lettered the word imagine, so I imported that into the software and got it all cut out. That worked really well using the 1/4 inch downcut bit. And then switching out for an 1/8 inch downcut bit, we can get the profile part of this cut out. This went really well, and the downcut action of the bit leaves a really nice clean top surface. So once that's done, we can use a multi-tool to go ahead and get that piece trimmed out. And we have a piece that's ready to go. Just need to round over the back and remove the tabs or trim them flush. The mini roundover bit does a great job getting into those really tight corners left by the 1/8 inch bit. And as you can see there, that 3/16 inch ball bearing does a great job getting in there. So that piece is ready to go, and we can start laying out the crayons. So I got everything organized and then started cutting everything to fit into the pocket. And then we can go ahead and get everything melted. So I'm using a heat gun here, and this is where I started to run into some issues that I thought I fixed but ended up not working out. So laying them on their side created a ton of bubbles because it was really hard to get the crayons to melt all the way since the pocket wasn't cut deep enough. So definitely a couple issues, and using a card scraper I was able to remove most of the crayons from the outside surface. It's kind of a tedious process and produced some really cool shavings, but it definitely could be a little bit easier. So the card scraper ended up leaving some tool marks in the actual crayons, so I thought that I'd just use a heat gun once over and do that. As you can see here, a bunch of bubbles started forming, and this is where things started to really go wrong. I thought I got it fixed and got everything in place and used some Total Boat tabletop epoxy over the top. And as you can see here, it's full of bubbles, which means that I didn't have the right temperature. Using a torch and a heat gun, I was able to get most of the bubbles out. But the crayons actually ended up creating their own bubbles from all of the bubbles that were underneath. So that also the heat cracked the crayons in a few places, and there's exposed bubbles. It ended up kind of being a mess. So rather than try to salvage this piece, I actually went ahead and created a second piece. This time I'm carving quite a bit deeper into the wood, which will leave me a deeper pocket to put those crayons into, and then hopefully I can avoid the mess from before. So we just need to get the profile cut out again and then go from there. Certainly didn't have to show the mistake piece, but I definitely think it's important that everyone knows that mistakes happen to everybody. And it's important to get back up on the horse and try again, and that's definitely what's happening here. Mistakes are really only a bad thing if you don't learn anything from them. If you learn something from it, then the whole experience is absolutely worth it, and this is absolutely no exception. It's time to start melting the crayons into the pocket. So it's a couple different things going on here. I used a deeper pocket and then oriented the crayons a little bit differently. They were getting a bunch of bubbles underneath them because it wasn't melting fully to the bottom. So orienting them this way seemed to work quite a bit better. I absolutely love the way that the crayons work. A lot of people have asked why using crayons. I like the idea of using a kid's material to make something cool for a playroom. And then it also creates a lot of different swirling effects that would be really hard to achieve using something like epoxy. So this part went really well. There's no spillover on the sides, and you can see that it worked great. I'm really happy with how this part of this turned out. And then we just need to use a little bit of Total Boat epoxy over the top of it just to seal the crayons. This definitely went a lot smoother than the last one, and after that thin coat of epoxy is fully cured, we can use the same 2-to-1 over the top of it. This time I'm going to mix for a full 3.5 minutes and make sure that I have the temperature in the room up a little bit. That way it's at a correct temperature. You can see it poured on a whole lot clearer than the last one did, and using just a heat gun and a torch real quick, we can get all of those bubbles out. Worked really well this time, and there's very little cleanup as opposed to doing it the other way that I had done it. So now we can begin the sanding process, starting off with 150 grit to remove most of the sandpaper on the Festool Rotex, then using the Festool ETS 150, going up to 320 grit to get all of the epoxy all finely sanded. Then I'll just use a Gator Micro Zip with 220 grit to just ease over the edges on the top. As with everything, I always leave a message on the back, and then we can begin the finishing process with Formbee's tongue oil. I really love this finish and love the way that it looks. I normally do finishes that make the wood and epoxy look very similar, but on this one I decided to do it a little bit differently. So the epoxy definitely has a different sheen to it than the wood does, and I didn't think I'd like it, but I really do. It makes everything stand out a little bit more. Couldn't be happier with how this project turned out, and I just wanted to show a little bit of my daughter's reaction to the piece. So anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the project, and we will catch you guys back out here on the next one. Have a great day, everybody.
Hello, girl. I got something for you. You want a present? Come here. Yeah, come here. Here you go. What do you think? What do you think of it? It says, imagine. Yeah. What do you think? Do you like it?
Yeah.
These are all crayons in here. You know, like you color with?
Yeah.
They're crayons.
This one crayons go.
Look at it. We can hang it in your playroom. Would you like that?
Yeah. I love you.
Good, thank you. I love you too, sweetheart.
Where did you put it?
On the wall.
Oh, that's a beautiful spot.
On the window